Hey guys, this is Lion of Judah from the Guild 7 from Thunderhorn server. So glad again to be with you on another video. In today's video, we're going to be going over Legion secondary stats. And even right now, currently in Warlords, the way secondary stats have played out for this expansion. So I usually talk to a lot of my guildies, especially to a couple of people, pretty much every day, and we always spitball certain subjects of like what's working, what isn't working, and I feel like secondary stats in this expansion currently for Warlords has been very heavy influenced in secondary, almost a little bit like you would want to even prioritize your secondary stats as your primary stats, like almost over strength or agility or even intellect sometimes. Like if you get a mythic, BOE, from the trash, you know, that has your two worst stats on it. Let's just say it's versatility with something else because versatility is just horrible for a lot of classes. And but what would you rather have, the crit multi-strike one if you were a hunter, or if you were, a haste mastery for a warlock, or, just, whatever it is. And I just feel like the way secondary stats are in general, like for the longest time, have been relatively boring. Like the only stat that really gave me hope was mastery when that got announced for Mist, and it was because it had, the way it was blossoming before we knew, of course, mastery is today. Like each, mastery was going to be different from every other class, and I thought, oh well, that's cool. But it just became another stat that just, almost meaningless. Like it didn't really impact your rotation. It didn't really impact anything. And I feel like the way critical strike, haste, mastery, versatility, multi-strike, bonus armor, spirit, all they really do is just, you know, they don't change much, but yet we need it. We need to hit certain thresholds. Like if you're a Fury Warrior, you need to have your crit thresholds, your haste thresholds. If you're a hunter, you're going to want to try to hit your crit threshold. And whatever other classes you may play that have certain thresholds that you want to, hopefully hit and perform well in your raid. But at the same time, what are these secondary stats doing to your rotation? What are they doing? They're not doing hardly much of anything. And when I was looking at the MMO champion interview, it was like a couple of almost like a week or two ago. It was like whenever the whole Dragon Con was going on, and they did another thing on MMO champion of certain things, and there was one bit of information that I just like what face palmed is multi-strike is being removed for Legion, and other secondary stats will have changes as well. That's what it says pretty much. And I mean, you can take this as, gospel that, oh, it's being removed. Blizzard can change their time or can change their mind at any time. It's not set in stone, but right now, even I guess in their own internal alpha testing, multi-strike is not a stat for Legion, which is a little disappointing because, even though a lot of the secondary stats are boring to me, multi-strike, I mean, a lot of classes really liked multi-strike, and it was, I think what it boiled down to is the other thing that Legion isn't going to be doing is another stat squish, which a lot of people thought that was going to be the case. Unfortunately not. And to me personally, I actually like the big numbers. I'm sorry. I was a huge fan of miss numbers. I wanted to be on my hunter critting for like 3 million on my kill shots. I mean, I don't know. I just like to see those big numbers. And, one of my friends was saying, well, numbers are arbitrary. You don't need these big numbers. Well, then why do you need small numbers? You know what I mean? It's the only reason why Blizzard wanted to go with small numbers again is because it's easier on the system. And it's easier for raid bosses to be at lower healths, so that way they can do more, because then it's like, oh, we have to, reset the health, or it has to be at some, crazily like abstract number of like 5e to like billion or some crazy number like that. And you can see I'm not a mathematician, but I just feel like with the secondary stats, especially with the artifact weapons that are being introduced, like, is it going to just become what it always has been? You go to, Icy Veins, you go to some, website that you trust, and you have a person that says, all right, guys, so for this expansion, you're going to want to go for mastery and haste, or you're going to want to go for versatility and critical strike. And it's just, it's whatever it says, you pretty much get that gear, and that's the end of it, really. And I feel like there really doesn't add a gameplay mechanic to it. But I will say this, and this is the one thing that scares me because I am a hunter, is the whole thing of what rogues have been going through. And I don't envy them, like, at all. Like, I think that would be atrocious to me. Is if you are a raiding rogue, and you care about what kind of DPS you're pulling, you have two sets of gear. You have your subtlety gear, and you have your combat gear, because fights can be single target and they can be AOE based. And and the funny thing is guess what? Those are two completely different specs as far as statting. And I believe, you know, let me look this up real quick. But basically, I don't want to be getting two different sets of gear for my hunter. I don't want to be, let's say, the melee survival hunter excels at AoE, but their single target is just crap. Like, that to me is just, oh my god, I couldn't even imagine gearing up a melee set, or a melee survival set, and then let's just say marksman is really, really good single target, but the AoE is just not that great. So if you want to do well in your raid for both AoE and single target, then you have to get two different sets of gear. And to me, that's just completely and utterly horrible. Now, basically, if you are a combat rogue, going back to this other one, you're going to want to go for haste and multi-strike. Those are your two stats that you're going to be going for. And basically, if your subtlety, hold on just a second, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's crit, but no, it's multi-strike and mastery. So basically, it's two different sets of gear, pretty much, you know what I mean? Because you're going to be heavy influence on haste and then multi-strike, but then your subtlety is going to be multi-strike and mastery. So it's like, what if, it's kind of like the whole Beastmaster, because Beastmaster was always haste and mastery, for the longest time. That hasn't changed. Just like a warrior has always been crit, you always go for crit. It's kind of weird in this expansion because you need to have a haste threshold, which is really weird for the warrior, but I digress. But basically, like, it's if the secondary stats, all it is just a plug to increase your DPS. I mean, I don't know how to properly convey this. It's just another hurdle of just farming gear at this point. And why should you, because you're picking a certain character like the rogue, should you have to get two sets of gear? Like, why can't the subtlety rogue do better when it comes to AoE, or even just a balance? Like, I think the two that I can talk about right now is the shaman for enhancement and elemental, and even though the warrior can do single target really well, and it can do AoE very well. Why can't certain characters play that way? It's like, well, no, because if you want to play this character, it's only going to have your AoE spec, and then it's going to be your single target spec. It's the same thing for, like, the demon hunter, which is going to be even more bizarre because it's only one DPS spec. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that the demon hunters excel at single target, but they have next to none in AOE. You don't have a choice of picking another spec because there isn't one. You know what I mean? And I know I'm going off of a huge tangent with this other specs and other stuff with AOE and single target, but basically that's going off of the single targets, like, or the secondary stats, I should say. It'd be kind of interesting if they kind of played, and or maybe the way they're going to restructure the secondary stats is to actually give you more, because I would have thought, okay, multi-strike's going away. I would have thought it'd been really cool if they integrated multi-strike to critical strike. So that way critical strike actually has two parts of the same stats. So not only does it, allow you to hit harder, but you have a chance to actually hit another time. Like, you basically integrate multi-strike with critical strike into one stat. That would be amazing. So that way, crit becomes a little bit more interesting, because not only the more crit you have, the harder you're going to hit, but you have a chance to actually get an extra hit. That would be amazing. But I think it's because, since they're not doing the stat squish, they're basically, it's going to be going up linearly. Or I don't know if this next expansion is going to be an exponential jump in power, or if it's going to be a linear jump in power. If it's going to be exponential, that's probably why they got rid of multi-strikers, because that's pretty much why they gutted survival hunters right now, because multi-strike was just getting way out of control. And if they literally didn't change serpent sting, I can guarantee you survival hunters would have been the best. They would have been punking arcane mages and all that other stuff if they didn't make the changes they did to our poisons, because multi-strike was just getting that crazy already. So because it is going up linearly, I think it's because they couldn't really focus in on how to properly nerf multi-strike, and then they just kind of felt like, well, if we have to nerf it, then it's just not working as intended. So that's probably why they scrapped it. But that's just so stupid, because I felt like, they could just integrated a part of it into critical strike, and you can just had it, when the more crit you have a chance to just do an extra hit. That's it. You don't need to do this whole, multi-strike where it's a second one or a third one. Just get rid of that, but just make it to where the more critical strike you have, the harder you're going to hit. And you also have a chance with the more crit you have that there's a chance you can also do an extra hit, at half the damage, or whatever. So I don't know, guys. I just wanted to do this video to see what are your thoughts on how secondary stats have been playing in Warlords. Do you have the same sentiments as I do with, how secondary stats are? To me, all they are is just, okay, what are the stat priorities? What is it? Is it crit multi-strike? Is it crit haste? Is it, versatility haste? Is it, whatever. And, I'm not even speaking as far as tanks either. Healers, with the way bonus armor's been working out, the way spirit's been working out, since you can only get spirit on I think your neck, back, and rings. And of course your no, you can't even enchant spirit, which is dumb. But yeah, so I just, I wanted to know, like, what you guys think, and what are your hopes for Legion and the whole secondary stats. I mean, do you mind that multi-strike's actually going to be removed? Do you mind that versatility is going to be here to stay? I mean, I'm not a fan of versatility. It's been a very much a useless stat this whole expansion. And apparently, Blizzard, I remember seeing an interview, actually liked the way versatility played out. Okay, you liked it playing out useless? Okay, that's cool. But yeah, I just wanted to do a little quick video on, the secondary stats, and just, my own personal thoughts and, comments on it. So if you like this video, please like, subscribe to my channel for anything hunter related. Like I said, I will be having more videos of Legion information, whatever Blizzard comes out with. I do want to give you my whole overall thoughts on the whole Legion expansion, Illidan's return, demon hunters, artifact weapons. It's all coming, guys, I can guarantee you. So I will leave you here, and like I said, like, subscribe, and I will see you guys later.